Hello, everyone, and welcome to another new episode of Set Lusting Bruce, your podcast all about Bruce Springsteen, his music, and mostly his fans. I am your host, Jesse Jackson. We are getting off the Bruce Springsteen train, and we are driving south. That's right. We are another episode of John Hiatt Month. I return guest, my good friend Skip from the Skip and Josh podcast. Skip, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be back to do another John Hiatt episode with you.
I am so. Just in case someone missed the first 3 or 4 times you've been on the podcast, tell us a little about yourself.
Sure. I am a married father of 2. My wife, Diane. My son, Matthew, is 21. Selena is 19. I live in Montreal, Canada. And we met Jesse because of the boss. We met because of Bruce, via Twitter, or I don't know how exactly.
Yeah.
And we are both I do my own podcast, independent podcast with my co-host Josh. Like I said, I'm in Montreal. My co-host Josh is in Toronto. And we do a podcast. It started off, we've been doing it for 5 years, more than 250 episodes. It started off as a sports podcast.
Yeah,
we were kind of riffing on the stuff you see on ESPN, where they talk about the week in sports, the sort of topic of the day, or the what's hot and what's not. Mm-hmm. And then the pandemic, there was no sports, so we changed our format and to talk about other topics, like just random stuff, our favorite songs of the 80s, our favorite movies of the 90s, our favorite French fries, I think we did, right? So some of the most recent ones, like we did an episode just about the TV show Ozark. There's a really funny episode, Jesse, that we did recently about this. I don't know if you listened to it, because it wasn't one of the favorite this and favorite that. It was stories from our apartment when me and Josh were roommates.
Oh my goodness. It was so much fun. And to prove that I listened, you drive by and you say, that's where our VCR is.
Exactly. So that story,
if no one has not heard that podcast, they're now going, what the hell are they talking about, right?
So that episode was so much fun to do. And my daughter's the one that said, you and Josh talk about all these crazy stories about when you guys were living together. Why don't you do a podcast episode about it? So we did. There's a couple of real doozy real special stories in there that are like, doesn't happen to everybody.
Right.
This kind of thing.
And one of the things when I had you on the first time, which I think is genius, is everyone does top 10, everyone does top 5, and you guys said 5 isn't really enough, but 10, let's do 7.
Yeah.
And just randomly pick it. And so I love that.
That's Josh's thing. Let's do 7. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. And I do think one of the things is when you guys tell a topic beforehand, if I care about it, I shoot you an email right away. And you guys have made fun of me before, like, we haven't even talked about it yet, and Jess has already given us feedback.
There was one time where we said we might do a topic. It was like we didn't even do it yet, and then all of a sudden the next day I have an email with Jesse's top 7, whatever it was.
Yeah. And then it's really fun. I love your Canadian bent. It is definitely a Canadian view.
Yeah.
And often, I will share, when you guys talk about announcers, if half of them are, Canadian hockey announcers, as, this guy stuck in Dallas, Texas, I'm not going to get. Though, if we would not be, and I'm going to throw this on a loop because we did not talk about this beforehand, but as we're recording this, the great Vince Scully just passed.
I was thinking about reposting our announcer episode because of that, because I know he was in my list, and I'm pretty sure he was in Josh's top list.
And I included it when I emailed and said mine. When Chris heard about it, my son, he immediately started quoting For Love of the Game.
Oh God, it's crazy that he's in that movie. Like, it makes it so realistic, the fact that he's announcing that no-hitter,
Oh, and it's just it is he is the voice of baseball.
I tried to explain to my son last night, I mean, my son's 21, right? But like,
Yeah.
he doesn't know anything. He's a super sports fan. He can tell
Right.
you everything about the NBA, the NFL, and the NHL. But
Yeah.
when it comes to baseball, he doesn't know anything because
Okay.
baseball is an old guy's sport now, you
Right.
know?
Yes.
But I was trying to explain to him, like, I'm like, you know, Vince Scully was like their announcer of the Dodgers in the 50s.
Yeah.
That's when he started, in the 50s. He
Yeah.
was the announcer when they had Jackie Robinson, you know?
Yeah.
And he announced up till a couple of years ago, right? Like,
Yeah.
think about that. That's incredible. You know, I've been working for the same company for 22 years, but that's nothing compared to
Yeah.
Vince Scully and the Dodgers.
One of my favorite bloggers, Mark Evanier, talked about he never was a baseball fan, but his father was. His father loved the Dodgers, and he said he would every once in a while listen because it made his dad happy.
Yeah.
And he said he enjoyed, even after his father passed, sometimes he said, because there's a beauty to watching someone who is one of the best of anything doing something.
Yeah.
And I just pulled this up on IMDb where he goes, and you know, Steve, you get the feeling that Billy Chappell isn't pitching at left-handers. He isn't pitching against pinch hitters. He isn't pitching against the Yankees. He's pitching against time. He's pitching against the future, against age. And even when you think about his career, about endings. And tonight, I think we might be able to use that aching old arm one more time to push the sun back up to the sky and give us one more day of summer.
But the beauty of that whole part is, like, do you think that was written for him, or did he write it?
I would believe he wrote it.
I would too. I would too.
In fact, you know how we talked about, I don't want to know the stories. Like, I remember being crushed when someone tried to explain to me that Puff the Magic Dragon was about drugs. Oh, and I was crushed. Like, no, this is no.
Yeah.
So, and so you and I have this, I don't want to know. I don't want to believe that they're all dead on Greece and they're flying off to heaven, right? I don't,
God forbid.
Yeah, no, I just, I want to have my belief. I want to believe in my mind that they went to Vin Scully and said, hey, here's what's happening. What would you say? Right?
Yeah.
So rest in peace. But we are not here to talk Vin Scully, though I'm sure that would make a great episode. And I'm sure the next time you guys talk, you will bring it up a little bit. We are talking John Hiatt, his ninth album, Slow Turning. It was the follow-up to Bring the Family. This was released in 1988. It is one of the only true radio hits he had.
Yeah.
So, you get, and last time we talked about, you get his version of Born to Run, Bring the Family. This is, he breaks 3, and now you got to follow up. And so if you're Springsteen, you do Darkness on the Edge of Town. With Hiatt, he did Slow Turning, and I almost think there are more songs on it. There are more almost songs I like more as a whole than I do Bring the Family. Like, there are 3 or 4 songs on Bring the Family that I would put at the very top, but consistently, like, there are more there. Bring the Family has some great songs. These have a couple of great songs and a lot of good songs.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
what's
again,
your feelings?
Yeah. No, there's like I said about Bring the Family, there's not a bad song on this album.
Right.
And when I talked about Bring the Family last time, I told you that album has a sound, right?
Yeah.
It's the sound of that band.
Yeah.
And that band is not on a Slow Turning.
No.
Right?
No.
So in Slow Turning, he has his new band, which was the band that he's used often after this. The Goners, they call them, right?
Right.
I actually saw Sonny Landreth at the Montreal Jazz Festival around this time, touring by himself.
Yeah.
So it's, when you talked last time, you said, Memphis in the meantime, he's going from Nashville to Memphis. It's going from country to the blues. I think he's gone back now, right? So if you like more blues oriented, Bring the Family's for you. If you like more country rock, maybe Slow Turning is more your style, right? So the sound of that super band from Bring the Family is not there, and
Right.
maybe what we're hearing on Slow Turning is more his real sound. Like maybe this is the real John Hiatt, like without all these other musicians sort of helping him drive the car, you know. And of course Slow Turning, and of course Stolen Moments comes after this, and it kind of picks up right where Slow Turning leaves off, right? It's they're kind of similar in a way, you know.
Yeah, and I'm really happy this way this worked out. You and I have already talked Bring the Family. We're bringing this one in. Betsy and I talked Stolen Moments, and then Michael Elliott and I did Perfectly Good Guitar.
I love Perfectly Good Guitar.
Yeah, so we've gotten, we're going to 4 episodes covering about this really 4 in a row significant CDs that I think are amazing.
You know, when you said you wanted to do this John Hiatt month, you sent out an email to like your inner circle of fans, I guess. I'm hoping
that's
I'm part
true.
of that.
Yes, no, that is, it's true.
And you gave us like a grid, like a spreadsheet where we could fill in like what albums we wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
And then I ticked off those 4, right? Like, you know, and I mean, obviously I could talk about the live album, but that's not really fair, right? And but like I mentioned last time, Bring the Family, Slow Turning, Stolen Moments, Perfectly Good Guitar, that is like the sweet spot for me anyways, right? Of John Hiatt's career.
Yeah, so Slugline was the first CD we found about, and a shout out to Rick Lisco, rest in peace, Rick. He is the first person that showed us to that. I don't remember if I told the story, if it's worth telling. When Linda was having her birthday, and I think it was her 55th birthday. I'm not sure. It was a pretty significant birthday. And Rick came over for her birthday, and he gave her, remember the iPod minis?
Oh, I had one of those.
Yeah. And he said, here's your birthday present. Every John Hiatt CD was preloaded into that.
What a beautiful gift.
And Linda just, and then when he passed away a year or 2 later, that it was even more significant for that. So I also,
but I have that CD. I'm holding it up for you.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have this one. This is like the compilation of all those early albums.
Yeah.
And I came to that CD later with the Geffen years, and they're much more pop oriented. It's a completely different sound as everything else we've described, but there's some real great tracks on here. And you talked about it, She Loves the Jerk and Radio Girl. And these are great songs, but it's almost like a different artist.
It is a different, and he really does seem to reinvent himself and continue. And I think if you go and buy his latest CD or release, you'll go, well, this doesn't sound anything like the guy who did Bring the Family. And I'm not saying that as a criticism. It's just, he is someone who loves making music and loves, and and has different itches that he wants to scratch. And so I think it's great. And writing,
he's coming. I looked up his tour, Jesse.
Yeah.
He's going to be in Dallas area in September.
I have tickets.
I knew you did.
Yeah.
I was looking to see, is there anywhere on this tour that's even remotely close to me? And it's not. It's not.
Yeah.
I've only seen him once in concert, and that was in the Perfectly Good Guitar tour. And
which would be a fun. I mean, that's Budokan, live at Budokan. I'm sure it was a fun show.
I mean, it was at this very, very well-known Montreal concert spot that called the Spectrum that doesn't exist anymore. So it's like maximum 1,200 people, and it was, it was a great show. Honestly, it was such a great show.
Yeah, he really is.
He has so much fun. He has so much fun on stage,
Yeah. I've been lucky enough to see him 4 or 5 times. I'd have to count. The past few times we saw him were solo. Were just acoustic, and and that was really beautiful. That was really nice. I remember the last time we saw him before Rick passed, we were there, and I told the story with Betsy, but he had played in Houston 2 nights before, and all the NASA astronauts
Oh,
had
wow.
been there because they played Blue Telescope when they were up in the space shuttle.
Love that song.
Yeah, and John says, and I met the astronauts. We got to do them. I signed CDs. I took pictures. And then I forgot to do Blue Telescope on the show when I was in front of it in Houston. He says, so I'm doing it tonight for my friends at NASA.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, that is very great.
I know I said it last time. I just loved your episode with Betsy. Like,
yes.
First of all, Betsy's such a great speaker. My God, I wish, wish I could talk like she does.
I would love talk. Any chance I can talk to Betsy, I can. And
but I was sitting at my dining room table. I was eating lunch and I was listening to it. I was listening to the episode, and then she starts talking about the album and different whatever, and then she mentions the song "Child of the Wild, Blue Yonder," and then in unison, you and me, say "Great song."
Yeah.
like I said it out loud just as you said it to her. It was like such a moment. It was great. I was like, whoa, what's going on here?
That's great. And to pull the curtain back a little bit, we were originally supposed to record this a couple weeks ago, and Betsy was actually going to join us. Skip was nice enough, like, oh yeah, sure. And this is before he had heard the discussion. And so, but she's traveling for work. I think we'll get another album, and the three of us will have a discussion, because Betsy says she's open to talking John anytime. So
clearly, I mean,
she's awesome.
I mean, I like what makes John's music, and we'll get into the Stolen Moments album. And I said it last time, is that the songwriting is so personal, to him, and I mentioned it. I said it last time, like a lot of the songs can be whatever you want them to be. Like I know Slow Turning is about his battle with sobriety and getting sober. I don't hear it that way, me personally, so for me that's a different type of song. It's about sort of like anyways, we can talk about the songs in a second. I do need to share.
I may cut this out, or I may not. Me, I don't do much editing, listeners, but I have already recorded an episode with a wonderful fan, Sylvan Groth, and she told the story that her grandparents were Hiatt fans.
Oh my God.
Which convinced her mother to be Hiatt fans. And the reason I'm bringing this up is when Sylvan was like 11 or 12, her mother and her took a trip to Florida, and they had a Hiatt mixtape on. Every time Drive South came on, her mom said, "This is what we're doing. This is what we're doing."
Yeah.
And last time we talked about that, Memphis in the Meantime started us on our journey. So Drive South starts our journey this time. Actually was a hit by Susie Bogus. It was a #2 country hit for her in 1993. I just love Drive South. I just think it is a great start to the album. You put that CD in, or you start it on Spotify, wherever you do, and it immediately just it gets your toe tapping and you're feeling good.
Yeah, he kept the tradition going, the first song on the album sets the tone, and he's telling you this is going to be a great ride. We're going to have a great time. We're going to laugh. We're going to cry. We're going to joke. We're going to do it all, right? That's you're going to listen to this album. You're going to feel all the feelings, right? Yeah.
And there's, as we talk about the humor, right? There is that where he says, baby, me and you, we can go down with a smile on. Ain't gonna pack my nylons. Just let those legs show, because it gets hot down where we're going. It's just such a fun song. I love that.
It's not just that song. It's not just that song that's fun. Also, like Tennessee Plates is also like a blast, and it's also like I think that movie might have been in which song was in Thelma and Louise? I always
I think
forget.
it was
Anyways.
Tennessee Plates.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
and like I don't know, there's so many great songs. Actually, Georgia Ray is a really nice song too. I think I
As
didn't
a
even know it was about his daughter. I found that out this
yeah,
week. So,
as a
yeah,
parent, right? Georgia Ray is really, really beautiful. I did want to talk about Tennessee Plates. A little bit of Darlington County working on the highway.
yeah,
That
sure,
kind of feel, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So and I think it's got a great, it's a very upbeat.
yeah,
Yeah. The Georgia Ray is about his daughter. If you know, he is a blended family,
yeah.
and um, he had a daughter. His second wife had, or I guess third wife, I'm trying to think, but
I
she
don't
had
know.
a child, and then Georgia Ray was their combination,
Yeah,
and it's such a. I remember Jimmy Buffett did Little Miss Magic on Coconut Telegraph, I think, which is about his daughter, about a baby. But Georgia Ray is just so much fun, great lyrics, and one of those songs that make me smile. I think it's super good. Right? She is beautiful. She is small. She don't want to play basketball.
right. That's a great line, actually.
It is.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
there's no telling what she might do when her doing days are through, but right now she can't even crawl.
yeah.
I mean, they're just so great. Yeah. Any other songs that you want to
Well,
talk about?
I
Let's.
mean, the two most known and most iconic songs are "Slow Turning" and
Yeah.
"Feels Like Rain." You talked
Yeah.
about "Feels Like Rain" with Betsy.
Yeah.
I mean, what a gorgeous song. I mean,
Yeah.
that's like I talk about the humor and we talk about the funny lyrics. There isn't in "Feels Like Rain." "Feels Like
Yeah.
Rain" is a love song, if you want it to be, I guess. Um, it's really gorgeous. I don't know if you've heard the Buddy Guy version of it.
No, I will need to
Oh,
listen to that.
it's special. I mean, it's really
Mhm.
the first time I heard the Buddy Guy version, I actually thought that he wrote the song. I
Yeah.
thought John Hiatt maybe covered it. I was like, wait, this can't
Yeah.
be. It doesn't work that way with John Hiatt. So I mean, that's that, and I mean, I believe it's the last song on the album, right? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, and that's a great way to close it because it's gorgeous. But I mean, for me, the best song on the album is "Slow Turning." I think "Slow Turning" is his maybe most known song. I mean,
think so.
other than like "Thing Called Love" because of Bonnie
Yeah.
Raitt, but
Yeah.
it's my favorite one. I just love the whole jingle jangle arrangement,
Mhm.
and it's full of humor, right? Like it's full of humor.
I thought our house was haunted because nobody said boo to me.
I wrote
never got what I wanted. Now I get what I need.
But for me, it's like I don't know. Do you ever hear there's a live version of this? Maybe it's live in London. It's an official release,
Okay.
right? And
Yeah.
they're playing the song, and then he stops the song in the middle, and he's telling a story, and
Yeah.
and the story is about how his wife got a babysitter, and they were going to go out driving tonight in his car, and they're going to have the night to themselves.
Yeah.
And then, the babysitter fell through, and now the kids have to come with, and they're in the car
Yeah.
together, and then you know where it's going if you know the song.
Yeah.
I'm in my car, I've got the radio down, and now I'm yelling at the kids in the back because they're banging like Charlie Watts. And then, of course, you think you've come so far in this one horse town, and she's laughing that crazy laugh because you haven't left the parking lot. For me, that encapsulates, like, it's everything. It's like, this is just when you have kids, and Jesse, like, there's crazy times, there's weird times, and if you can't laugh at yourself and laugh with your kids and just say what the hell,
Yeah.
and just throw your hands up and say, this is what it is, that's what it's all about. It's just enjoying the moment.
When Charlie Watts passed,
Yeah, the first thing I thought of was this song.
First thing I thought, absolutely, it was the first thing I thought. And then everyone started telling the stories about him. And like that one time, he went and told Mick, I'm not your drummer, you're my singer.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I immediately thought of that. And I think you're right. There are your kids, Chris and Linda and I, some of your best times are not when you plan this. You don't have anything elaborate planned. You don't just something kind of happened and it became a memory that you repeat over and over again and you tell
Yes,
that story.
exactly. Some
Yeah.
kind of quirky little story, and you were here and you were there, and your
Yeah.
kid said this, and my son said that, and my daughter did. Like, we have, like, there's just crazy times that you're always going to remember, like,
Yeah.
and they seem so weird and goofy, and they're your memories, so
Yeah.
yeah.
So, the one we bring up often is we were gonna go. We had gotten reservations at one of the best steakhouses in Dallas for Christmas Eve dinner. I mean, we're going all out.
Right. Okay.
Right. And we get there and there's no windows. You can't see anything outside. And Linda gets claustrophobic.
Oh no.
And it's hot. And she's sick.
Oh no.
And so, and I should get Chris to tell the story because he's like, I'm like, she's sick. There's no way we're going to be able to eat. And so the waiter's like, well, we can mark this to go. And I look at Chris, I'm like, I'm not paying $35 for a steak to go.
Right.
Right. So they said, okay, well, we can cancel the steaks. We'll bring you your appetizer that you ordered. We'll give you your salads that you ordered because we've already made those, and we'll let you out. I'm like, okay, we'll go. So we get home, and Linda's like, oh, I'm just too sick to eat. I'm too sick to eat. And Chris and I are like, okay, well, we're hungry. So we ordered pizza, and it's hard to find someplace Christmas Eve, right? But we ended up finding someplace to get it. And then Linda eat all our pizza because she started feeling bad. And so Chris tells the story all the time, like, hey, you remember on Christmas Eve when Dad's like, I ain't paying for no steak to go.
Yeah.
And Linda gets embarrassed, but it makes us laugh. And that was not anything planned. It's a perfect thing. You haven't left the parking lot yet.
You haven't left. It's just, that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. This is It'll Come to You is a great Paper Thin.
Paper Thin,
another great song. Great. Yeah. And
I told you I listened to all week to the album, and a song that I always liked, but then I completely rediscovered this week, and that's the song that I listened to the most the last 2 days. Is Anybody There? You know this one?
Yes.
It's so uplifting. It has this gospel choirish background singing.
Yeah.
It's really a beautiful song. And of course, like you always say, Jesse, everything always comes back to Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
So this is another song about a guy asking a girl to get in a car and to go off on a great adventure. Now, I'm not sure if he's asking her to get into the car or just to walk with him, but the song ends with, we could hit that road in a flash of lightning. Maybe it won't be so frightening. And it's really like the same theme, she's asking her to come with and go on that great adventure together.
And, I now need to go listen to this again. The episode you haven't got to hear yet, Michael Elliott and I connected Perfectly Good Guitar and The Wish.
Oh, wow.
Right? Because you think about it, right? Both of them are about wanting guitars.
Yeah.
And so I'm now going to listen to this and then Thunder Road and the connection of get on the road together, right?
But what did you say in the other episode that I heard you say there's something with Tunnel of Love?
Yeah, Tunnel of Love, the whole idea of it is, you have to go, it is the story of a relationship.
Yeah.
And, this, I think in a lot of ways, Stolen Moments is a story of relationship too.
Yeah, right.
And
that makes sense. Yeah.
And I know that one of the things that Sylvan said in her episode that when she found out that John's older brother killed himself, and then his father left, and then with the seven little Indians,
Yeah, it's
as
seven
that
children,
lyric,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
lyric, it just connects. So yeah, one of the things that, and there are CDs out there or albums where people cover John's songs.
Tons.
And Angel Eyes, I think, from Jeff Healey Band, right, is one of his better known. Obviously, Bonnie Raitt did the one. We already talked about Susie Bogus. It is, Aaron Neville covered Feel Like Rain. So he is known as he is better known as a songwriter than he is a performer.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely. Any other thoughts about
Well,
the album?
you asked me in the episode, like,
Yeah.
pre-notes,
Right.
any bad tracks? Like, look, there's not a bad track. I'm gonna
Right.
say, gun to my head, I'm not the hugest fan of Icy Blue Hearts, and I know
Okay.
it's on every live album, and he really likes it, right? And I think it's a fan favorite, but I never connected with it so much, So
I would have said Trudy and Dave,
but I like that song
till I started listening to it
Yeah.
this week, and then I went, all right, that's not a bad little, song.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I ended up liking it too. I think it's really well done.
Yeah. So if I gave Bring the Family 9 out of 10, I gave it 9 out of 10 hamsters.
Yeah.
I would give this 8.9 Charlie Watts.
Ooh, I like that. I
mean, it's like, it's a 9 out of 10 too, but I think it's like one tinge of a notch below Bring the Family. That's, yeah.
Well, I agree with you. I'm going to do 8x9 Flashes of Lightning.
Beautiful.
Yeah, because that was just really well done. It makes me want to go back and listen to more John Hiatt.
Well, the thing is, I really only listened to Bring the Family and Slow Turning this week because I knew that's what I was going to talk about with you. So I really need to go listen to Stolen Moments and Perfectly Good Guitar. I have like a craving for them now.
Yeah, I agree. I want to do that too.
And Little Village. Do you have anybody that's going to talk about Little Village?
No one is.
I know it was like a flop, and like they had high hopes for it because it was the band from Bring the Family together again, and it didn't do as well as they thought. But I really love that album. I think it's funny. I think the songs are great. I think there's some songs on there that are just like, I don't know how the hell they could have written them. Like, I don't know, the song Don't Think About Her When You're Trying to Drive. Like, it's just a crazy song.
Yeah. That's good. So I am going to see him coming up in September. I'm very excited about seeing it. Any final thoughts?
Go and listen to some John Hiatt music. Pick up Bring the Family, Stolen Moments, Slow Turning. They're all great albums. If you like a little bit more rock in your diet, then Perfectly Good Guitar is up your alley. So I encourage everybody to listen to some John Hiatt. He's a supremely underrated artist.
Yeah, I do think that is well said. It is someone, I also think that Bruce fans would enjoy him. I think that there are albums that if they went to, they'd go, oh, I see a little similarity. He does sound a little like Elvis Costello at times, but he is, he does a version of Johnny 99 that I like. Hiatt does, that's good. It's good. Yeah. I think it's great. All right, Skip. If someone wants to reach you, or tell us a little bit about that podcast, how to reach you on there.
I mentioned it already. So
yes.
What
do you guys got coming up next?
We don't know. We're supposed to record on Saturday, and we're going back and forth on text about like what the episode's going to be. We don't know. We can't come to an agreement on a topic, and it's out of laziness because we don't want to prepare. So if like I propose a topic and Josh is like, that's too much research, and I'm like, well, if you think that's too much research, like the other ones I was proposing, because we have a list, we have like a Google Doc, I'm like, the other ones need even more work, So we're not sure, but we'll come up with something. Like it always comes together when we record. And the beauty of our thing is like often we're kind of like I have no idea what he's gonna say. He has no idea. He always starts the show, like Josh always starts the show.
Right.
Hey Skip, today we're gonna talk about Ozark. And he goes, but before we get to that, I gotta tell you something weird. And then he tells me some kind of crazy story. And I never know what. Like I always ask him, do you know how you're going to start the show? And he's like, yeah, I know how I want to start. I'm like, okay, let's go. Hit record and let's do it.
So now what you can do this time is you could say, oh, well, Josh, I need to tell you about, I recorded with our friend of the show, Jesse. So
he knows. He texted me while we were recording because he probably wants to talk about the episode on Saturday.
Very nice. Well, I appreciate that.
So skipandjosh.com has all the links of where you can subscribe to our episodes. And of course, it's very easy because it's on all the places where you get all the podcasts, Apple, Google, Spotify. My favorite podcast app is Overcast. I don't know if you use that. It's an iOS only app, but it's terrific. And yeah, so we're on Twitter at Skip and Josh, Facebook. You can find our show page. You can email us skipandjoshshow@gmail.com. And we, like I mentioned last episode, I read every mail, Facebook comment, interaction. I try to, shout out everybody who listens and who interacts with us on social media.
Yeah. And so how do you think your Eagles are going to do?
I think we're going to have a great year.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm very excited for the season to start. We're in this weird spot now, and there's nothing going on in sports now. If you're not a baseball fan, you have nothing to watch, right? I mean, we're not even allowed to talk about golf on our show, even before all this live golf stuff. Like we don't talk about golf because it's boring. But there's nothing really going on in sports right now. So it's like we're in this weird spot where we need a few more weeks to get to the NFL training camps. And then before we know it, we'll be at Labor Day and the season will start. Yeah, I have high hopes for the Eagles. It's Eagles and Cowboys in the NFC East. Obviously, like the other teams, the other two teams are no good.
So the Cowboys are already at training camp. Yeah. And so my sports station I listen to, The Ticket, has been broadcasting live. I am trying not to buy the hype. Chris and I are both
listen to anything that goes on in training camp.
No, but we're just saying that every year. And he still says, the moment they score the first touchdown, we're going to be screaming and yelling. But
start the parade, the Super Bowl parade.
The reality is if I could get kind of serious and kind of tongue in cheek a little bit, my son always says that he just wants to get to the NFC Championship game. Like it's been so long since the Cowboys have done anything. Just get to the game.
You guys should have lower goals than that. You guys should have let's win a playoff game. One.
Exactly.
Start with one.
Exactly. So to get serious for a minute, as most of my listeners know, my mom had a stroke. And so we are she is out of danger, but she still cannot move her left arm. She cannot move her left leg. And so everyone's like, oh, we're pulling. And I'm just like, I just want her to be able to eat and drink on her own. Right. Like that's
change your expectations.
Yeah.
Right.
Change the expectations. So yes, I'm saying getting to the NFC Championship game is our version of a Super Bowl. Yes. We just want them to win. Someone told me the last time the Cowboys went to the playoffs 2 years in a row was like 2005, 2006.
Oh, yeah.
That's how long it's been.
The NFC East has this big tradition of like every year there's a new winner.
Yeah.
But this year it's still like it's been around 5 years now. It's the Eagles or Cowboys. So
because the Giants have not been good, and nor the Washington football team.
No, terrible.
Right? Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah, but I have high hopes for the Eagles. I think they've assembled a great team, and it's all going to hinge on the quarterback if he can really become a star, or like how far can he take them? So yeah. All
right. We should we'll do we should do a bet. So if the Eagles win the East, I will take a picture of I will get an Eagles baseball cap, and I will
Yeah.
do a whole podcast wearing the Eagles cap. And
Okay.
then if the Cowboys do it, you do it same with the Cowboy cap.
I have better. My friend has a Cowboys helmet. I'll take that and I'll wear it.
I love it. Thank you, my friend. Skip, this is always a joy. I could talk to you every week. Just
I'd love to.
not even for the podcast, just set up and talking. It's just a blast.
Sure. Awesome.
So,
That's so good.
yeah, thank you. All right, listeners, go be kind to each other. Go check out some John Hiatt music. Go check out Skip and Josh's podcast. And, and I hope your NFL team does well, except for the weeks they're playing the Eagles and the Cowboys.
Oh, beautiful.
All right. Thanks. Bye. Talk to you soon, everyone. Bye.
So good.
Hello, everyone. I am Jesse Jackson, and I hope you enjoyed this small clip from one of my Set Listing Bruce episodes. I'm always looking for feedback and, more importantly, guests. If you want to share your Springsteen fandom story and answer the Mary question, post below on the comments or send me an email to setlistingbruce@gmail.com. If you're passionate about other musicians or topics, I'm always up to record a B-side episode where we get off the Bruce train and dive into other topics. For now, stay hard, stay hungry, stay alive. Meet me in a dream of this hard land, and I'll see you further on up the road.